Welcome, guys, to Pro Cycling Manager 2012. Now, I know that there's a couple of other newer Pro Cycling Manager games out. Obviously, they release one every single year. I do have the 2013 and the 2014 editions, but I have spent a lot of hours on this particular version of the game, the 2012 one. I think Steam's got me close to around 500 hours now. It's the one I know probably the best, and I've played through quite a bit. So this is the one I want to do. This one is going to be a long playthrough. I'm going to try to do multiple seasons. I'm going to take a continental team, the lowest level continental team, to the top. Well, that's the idea anyway. Don't like playing the Pro Tour teams. There's doesn't feel like there's much of a point in these type of simulations. I always like to take the lowest ones and try to make something of them, and we'll see how we go. Now, before I actually get into the game, there's a couple of things I want to just point out. If you're familiar with the game, you'll obviously know how it works. If you're not familiar, this is a cycling management game, and you can control your individual riders on your team during races, but you also have the man management outside of that in terms of contracts and what races they want to go in and how you train them and those type of things. Now, what I want to say here in terms of the options, when I go here in the databases, now Pro Cycling Manager has an official release here. You'll see that one at the top, the CDB. That's the official release. Now, of course, the names on those, well, they didn't get the licenses for the names of the riders in real life, so they changed the rider names, and that really takes away from the whole playthrough of the game when you don't actually have the correct names for Contador and for Andy Schleck and for all those type of riders. So if you get the PCM Daily 2013 version, you get the correct names and where the riders were actually contracted with at the start of 2013. You can go and get that from PCM Daily. It's a website that has a lot of this stuff. It's probably the best website that helps people play Pro Cycling Manager in terms of databases and different add-ons and mods and stuff like that. I'll put that in the link for you down the bottom so you'll be able to see it. So I'm using the PCM Daily essentially only because it gives me the correct names and they're contracted to the right teams at the start of the 2013 season. That I don't so much worry about, it's more the names. Alright, so in single player there's obviously a number of different things: stage, classic, track, stage race. We're doing a career, obviously, that's what we do. I do have one loaded up, but just showing you, if you want to choose a career, it allows you to put in your name up here, your birth and your nationality. Now the nationality, actually helps you decide whether or not you're going to be the manager for the national team of a particular country. So, and that can help you. I think it also can help you pick up different riders from those particular countries. So that can be quite important, the way you play the game like that. So I have got one loaded up already. So I will bring it up. And it is... it's right here. So it's the only one on there, of course. I should have known that. Alright, now, my team. This is probably, you need to know what my team is. Incapi Sportswear Development Team. According to the game and using the PCM Daily database, this is the worst team in the Continental Tour. It's a 1-star team. It's the absolute worst. It's got 12 riders. It's got a terrible budget of 325,000 euros per year, which equates to about 27,000. It's up here, 27,000 euros a month. It's really not very good. Quite frankly, when you look at the squad, I've got 12 riders. You can go through them and you can see them all. Interesting enough, this Alda Mutz, he actually lives in Canberra, where I come from in Australia. And he cycles around and he's on Strava, and I see him on Strava quite a bit because I'm on Strava when I cycle. So very interesting. He's in my team and I actually see him riding around in real life. And he's very good in real life, very good. Alright, so that's my team. go back to the messages. So this is the main screen that you would normally get, where you would start it. Now, there is a bit of management at the start of the game to get this set up correctly. You've got to set up your training schedules. You've got to get your riders onto different races. You've got to choose your races too, and that can be quite interesting. So I'll take you through some of those mechanics before we actually get into the gameplay of the actual races. I'm sorry, this does actually take a little while. It can have a bit of a steep learning curve, but once you get it, look, it's generally pretty good. But you've always got to set these things up at the start of the season. So every season start does take, for me it takes actually a couple of hours, quite frankly. I use a bit of a spreadsheet to actually get some of these things right, but I'm going to do it on screen as we go. Well, we'll see how we go. Alright, so back into the sponsorship area. We click on the Hincapi Sports, where this tells me all the goals for the season. And obviously the range and importance of 1 star to 5 stars. 5 stars being the best, 1 star not being as important. You want to try to get as many of these during the season, so your sponsors are very happy. It has a twofold effect, I think. Obviously, your current sponsor wants to do a recontract after the contract ends, and others, when you're looking for other contracts, I think it helps you actually get other contracts. So, because this is Hincapi Sportswear Development Team, it's an American-based team with a couple of Australians. So most of these races here you'll find will be in America. Problem with that is making it even harder coming from the Continental is when you move up to Pro Continental, you don't really get too many opportunities to race in some of the bigger races around the world in France, Spain, Italy, and those areas. So if you want to make it a bit easier coming from Continental, choose a Spanish-based team or an Italian-based team or a French-based team, and that way during Pro Conti you actually can get a wild card for the Tour de France or the Vuelta or the Giro, and that can be quite helpful for you at the end of the day. But as I said, I'm doing the hardest possible, and we'll see how we go. So there are my goals. Now that's fine, you can read through them, but if you go to your schedule, they'll be basically here. Anything with a star on it right here is a race that your sponsor wants you to be part of and wants you to do well in, and they'll have choices of what they are. So you want to try to enter them as much as you possibly can. You'll notice the Valley of the Sun stage rate has a tick, means I'm entered it already. So that's good. So come down to this one. I'm not going to even pronounce some of these, but this is obviously a French race in Paris, so I'll tick it. Now, it actually allows me, that means I'm asking for an invitation, and they'll get back to me shortly to tell me that whether or not I've got it. There's this one here, Porek. I don't even really want to say it because I'll get it wrong. Same day. That's the problem. I've got 12 riders. These are probably 8-man teams on these, so I may have to take that one off. So you can remove races. Slide down to the Normandy. Yes, I will ask for an invitation for that, and now I'll move over to the next 3 months. There's the Grand Prix. Alright, we'll choose that one. Presbyterian, I'm already on. Batten Kiel, I'm already on. Sea Island Classic, yes, I'm on. Bretagne, Tour of Bretagne. Alright, I'll choose that one as well. Is that the same time as Joe Martin it is? That's unfortunate. Gilead. Alright, I'll choose that one. I'll choose all my stars, and then, well, anyway, we'll work through them as we go. Now, Amgen Tour of California, that's the big one for my team. That's really the biggest one. It's a 2HC. I'll probably have to explain the classifications of the races at some point. I will do that. Royal Smythe Olympia Tour, that's actually not a bad one. I will tick that one. That happens very close to the tour, same time. So I'm going to get a bit of a double up, but that's alright. Okay, American Cycle Classic, I'm already in. Tour of America's Dairyland, I'm already in as well. A few others, Tour of Delta, we've got ticks on some of these. So this is all randomised at the start of the game as well. I haven't put any ticks on here. They just come up. You've got to pick and choose. You can delete some. Tour of Elk Grove, that's another American one. Tour Utah, obviously another American one. US Pro Cycling Challenge. That's in terms of the game, that is on par with the Tour of California. These are the two HCs that occur for my team. So I want to be part of them because A, they're good money and they give me good continental points as well. Bucks County is ticked and Tour of Britain is ticked as well. So when you look at that, if you go over to riders, this is where you set up your schedule for your riders, which races that you want them to be in. So very quickly, already these are Australian Championships, which is obviously where I come from, and the road race, obviously, and the individual time trial. Now I have two Australian riders, so those two need to be put into the races. Let's give them a bit of race prep, I guess, race training. Nothing much happens in January besides that. There's the Valley of the Sun race in February. I'd have to choose some riders for that. Now, so let's just switch through. This is where it shows me the double ups. And this is where I will have to assign different riders. And given I have 12 riders, I pretty much can only take 6 riders to each race. That's not a terrible thing. A little bit harder early on, but not a terrible thing. Amgen and Royal Smide. Don't think there's any other double ups. That's good. Oh, Bucks County goes straight up to Britain. That's not a terrible thing. So we have that double up there, and we have the Joe Martin stage race and that one. So we have 3 double ups. We'll deal with that. Quite frankly, we will deal with that. All right. So I have my squad. I have all my races, although I've only asked to participate, so I haven't actually set up anything else. Down the bottom here is where I progress through multiple days or one day. Pretty much one day I'll get a result back for those races. As you step up into the World Tour, it takes you a bit longer to get the confirmation whether or not you're in the race. So we can go through a few other things. In the finance section, I don't tend to use that one that much. I tend to use this one a little bit more. It gives me a bit of a chart of how my finances are going. Tells me my rider wage bill is 24,000 euros. I have 12 riders, and as far as I can remember, they're 2,000 each. Staff salaries 49,000. Well, that's a bit of a problem. I have sponsorship of 27,000. So I'm basically losing money every month. That is a huge problem. And my wage bill for my riders is actually decreasing to 16,000 next season, which would suggest that's an 8,000 drop. So that would mean 4 riders are out of contract. I only have 12. Now, I'm not going to be able to pick up too many riders this season. I will pick up a couple, but so I need to keep the ones that I've also got, regardless of how good they are. So, a couple of things we need to do here. I need to look at my staff. Essentially, I have 2 trainers. That one is a reasonable trainer who has a legendary reputation, which governs how his salary ends up. 29,000 is a lot. He does puncher at 7, time trial at 7, and sprinter at 8. So the higher the number, the better. I think 10 is the highest. It might be 9. So this one's good at sprinting and time trialing in terms of training. Climbers 5, Northern Classics is 5. So he's pretty good all up. However, he's incredibly dear and he's costing me a lot of money. So I'm going to have to release him. Now, this second trainer, who is now my only trainer with a salary of 8,400, he does fighter at 6, time trials 1, so he's terrible time trial, can't do classics, climbing 3. Look, I'm going to get rid of him as well. Essentially, they're wasting me money. Now, scouts. Scouts are good during the game to pick up young riders from different areas of the world. So you want to be mindful of that. However, at 8,000 and currently what my salary is, I'm going to release him as well. And doctor. Well, having a doctor is a bit of a risk management decision. If your riders don't get injured or crash, or illness, throughout the season, your doctor is essentially wasting your money. However, of course, if it happens, and you can't assign a doctor, then the healing process takes longer. So obviously, higher the reputation, and then of course higher the salary, the doctor will heal your rider faster. Right now, I will take the risk management approach and release him as well. So, if I go back to my finances, I think I have to move a day. My staff salary is 2,500. I think it just hasn't picked up the doctor. If I move a day, it should be zero. That is a lot better for me. In fact, that means I will actually start to make money because balance is 27. That's what I get every month, and my rider wage bill is 24, so I'm picking up a bit over 3,000 euros per month. Let's have a look in the team stuff. Training camps. This is where you can set up different training camps throughout the season. You can do it at the start of the season, before particular races, to give them a bonus to their stats. I tend not to use this, and a lot of people play this game actually believe this is partly a cheat because the AI can't do it themselves. I just tend not to do it because I find it costs a lot of money, and especially early on, it's incredibly dear, so I don't bother with it. Equipment, because I'm using the PCM daily database, it has basically given me all the equipment. Again, I don't think this actually helps too much. Kind of means we're on an even playing field, I think, with the AI anyway. So you can pick and choose based on, it's really now aesthetics to make any changes here. So I tend not to worry about it, quite frankly. I don't even touch it. And scouting, well, scouting's very good when you have a scout. You can choose all these different locations, and there's more if you go to different parts of the world. If I can remember how to do it, click up there, that's right. Yeah, so you can go to different parts of the world and scout. Quite frankly, I think in the later versions, hopefully they've upgraded this, so there are all areas to actually choose from, because it's mainly European based, quite frankly. Scouting does take a while, and later in the game, as I get more money, I will employ a scout and we'll go through the scouting process. Obviously, results just tell you how results go. You can look at the under 23 throughout the season. That might be a good way of getting a cheap rider for another couple of thousand, and obviously just different rankings and stuff like that. And there are other transfers, injuries, and all the main teams. And just to show you, based on the database I'm using, you can see all the World Tour teams. That's pretty much what it was in 2013 with Blanco before they went bust, Cannondale before they changed, Escadel before they're not part of World Tour anymore. You can see these are the ones from a couple of years ago. Saxo with their old jersey, which I think is better than their current one, but anyway. That's what happens. A few of them have stayed the same, like Movistar, Lampro, Katusha, they're all the same, AG2R. Argos obviously is not World Tour anymore. Stana is, BMC. So you can go through them. So, what I need to do is pick up a schedule. But I want to know if I got into the races that I asked for. So I want to move ahead a day. So I'll click that once. I've moved ahead, and it will give me these messages of the ones that I got into. So I got into these 4. And apparently I missed out on 2 of them, which is fine because they were 2 one-dayers, so I don't think they're going to affect me too much. Riders do have a kind of a level of a maximum of how many races they can actually, how many days they can actually race for. So you do need to be mindful. I think it's up around 70, so just be careful of that. Right, so I can go back to my squad. Now what you want to do is you want to try to break your squad up into groups, really, because it helps you assign them throughout the year, especially at the higher levels. You want to break them up between, generally between the different Grand Tours. That makes it a bit easier. I tend to do this into 2 halves. because I have the Tour of California in May, I think it is, and then I have the US Pro Cycling Challenge at the end of August. Those are my two big ones that I need to do well in, hopefully, so I can get promoted to Pro Continental. So I want to split them up. So I need my two mountain goats because they are mountainous races to be at their peak during those two. So when I look through, this tells me their stats. Alright, so this is flat. If you hover over it, it'll obviously tell you so how good they are on the flat. Mountains, hills, time trial, prologue, so that obviously relates to time trial. Cobbles, the Northern Classics. Sprint and acceleration. My understanding in the end sprints, your acceleration is the most important part, so you want this the highest. Downhill, you can't actually improve downhill through training. That is governed just in-game through the database itself. Fighter, I can't remember if you can improve that. Fighter is the number of attacks that riders can make throughout a stage. As far as I can tell, the AI seems to have an advantage to that, quite frankly. Stamina, resistance, and recovery, those tend to be governed by stage races. The higher those three are, helps you with the stage races. So as you can see, if I sort by mountain, you can see that Joey Roscoff is my best mountain guy. So I want him on the Amgen Tour of California and the US Pro Cycling Challenge. And I want Robin Carpenter, who's a 62 on the mount, to support him. In fact, in some respects, I might want Thomas Wonga. He's a 62 in mountains and a 62 in hills as well. So I want probably those three to be on those two particular races. So I want them to peak for those two. So if I choose Joey, well, actually, I will do it through my scheduler first. That might be better. So I'll go back to riders. There it is there. So I want to grab him and I want to drag that down to Roscoff and Ronga and Carpenter. So you'll note that Tour of California starts, I think it is on the 13th. Oh yes, you can see it over here. 13th, 8 stages. And I have 3 of 8 riders chosen so far. Then I want to move forward to US Pro Cycling Challenge, and I essentially want to do the same thing. This does take a bit of man management, especially when you have 30 riders at the World Tour level. Unfortunately, it's something you do have to get right. There is actually a planner, executable file that you can download from PCM Daily. I think it's called Lockie's season planner that you can download. It will do a lot of this for you. You do it in executable. It's like an Excel spreadsheet really, and it populates everything for you, and then you load it back into the game and they should all pop up and they should be right. I've had some experiences where it's crashed my game, unfortunately. Generally it's very good. It can save you a lot of time. You still have to do a bit of man management for it, but it sets it out in a pretty neat format when you don't have to switch between the different months and everything. It is better than the in-game, to be quite honest. It is definitely better, so you probably should look at it. I'll try to put it in the links below as well, just to help you out. But for this one, I'm actually going to do this myself. Now, because I have Roscoff basically doing these 2 races, now he will do more, but I want him to peak for these 2 mainly. I'll go into Roscoff. Now this is just an overview of him himself. All his attributes are here again. You can switch through rider details. It tells you his contracts, so this is where you can update their contracts and those type of things. His evolution, so how he's improved over the years, where he's improving, those common things. Training effect and what he's training for. Now this is quite important, this screen. Progress potential is very important. You want to see the higher the stars, the better. They can have up to 6 stars, which is really awesome and fairly unique to have 6 stars. So Roscoff is going to improve in cobblestones and sprint the most throughout his career with us. He's going to get some in time trial and a little bit in the others. Not very much in stage races, as you can see. That will drop off over the years as he improves. So, with his specialisation, even though he doesn't have a trainer, he will improve. He'll just do it himself. It will be slower because he doesn't have a trainer. We want to put him in something where he's improving. Now, quite frankly, cobble sprints doesn't really matter. His cobbles are 60 and his sprinting is 62 with the acceleration of 69. So they're reasonable. Above 60 is not bad, especially for my team. He's probably one of my best Northern Classics rider anyway, so let's get him to improve in Northern Classics. Now, because I want him to peak during the Tour of California and the US Pro Cycling Challenge, I want to set up my schedule. Now, I can, I need to edit it. These are all the different schedules. You can choose training plans, and they'll peak at different times. Obviously, the higher the green, that's where they're peaking, and red is obviously where they're doing very little at all. So you have to be careful that you can overtrain them, and the game actually pretty much stops you from doing this. If you want to customize, you can do that, but if you change a training plan, you can see that it changes the color codes. And you pretty much go through it. So what you would do to make it a little bit easier, and this is where the season planner from Lockie actually is quite helpful. I need to find the Tour of California, and what the game should be doing is should be just highlighting the races that I'm part of. Quite frankly, I think this was a bit of a miss for them. So if I highlight the Tour of California, you can see where it is. That's right in the red for that one, so that would be a terrible plan for that one. He's going to peak at the end of March and peak at the end of August. So if you go through, you should be able to find a plan that works better for him. There is one. There's one. Classics 12. That is pretty reasonable, although there is a better one. You can actually find better ones than that. You just have to work through them. Or if you want to be really, really tough on yourself, you can customize. So you come here, and because it's completely empty, what you want to do is you want to click on, how do I do this again? You want to edit, sorry, my apologies. It's about there, isn't it? So you click on those and it will bring it up. I think I need that one green. That's green. So Tour of California, it's actually highlighted over there. So there you go. I did that completely wrong. I'm going to bring those down. I'll bring that one down too. That one, I think it's just right click. It is right click. 1, 2, there you go. So if I want him to peak there, that's his training plan. That will actually allow him to peak there. Fatigue thing will actually come up. You can read all that. It'll pretty much tell you how to do it. And yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. So what I want to do, just for the time being, because I'm not sure how to do this, I'll put Cali in, Tour of California. Save that. I'll confirm it. Am I right? No, I'm not actually. Okay, so I got that wrong. However, I want to make sure the US Pro Cycling Challenge is part of this as well. So I'm going to get him to peak twice. This is the problem. You need to remember exactly when they are. So US Pro Cycling Challenge is pretty much the last 2 weeks of August. Yeah, the last 2 weeks of August, September. That's where I want to go. And the US, this is a bit of a problem. They should have fixed this, quite frankly. But anyway, well, we'll get through it. We will get through it. I don't tend to get that annoyed with these things. Where is it? Did I lose it? There it is. I've got to move 2 weeks. It's second last. I want those 3 basically. So, I want to go into my schedule. Alright, so I want to take these down because I don't think I need to. That might be alright, and I want that one to peak. Now you'll notice how he goes. So he'll have a trough. It will actually tell me if he gets too fatigued. That looks alright. Let's save that one for the time being. Custom Kelly, fine. Evaluate. Now if you hit evaluate, this is how much fatigue he's getting. So he has no fatigue up until he starts racing. Peaks about there. That's probably about 50%. Drops off a little bit. And then he's getting high fatigue up here. That should be alright. Should be alright. In fact, I probably want one more and we'll just evaluate that. That'll be fine. He'll pretty much won't do very much after this. We'll save that. Yes, we'll override. We'll confirm. Let's see. It will tell you if things aren't very good. So you'll note that he's peaking right during MGM and he's peaking during US Pro Cycling Challenge, which I need to find there. Right in the middle. That's perfect. So I hit return. That's custom Kelly. I don't know why it's put two customs in, but that's fine. So then I can basically scroll up to Carpenter, and because it's saved, I will put his in as well. Now Carpenter has 4 in cobbles and 4 in stamina, so that's partly stage racing and Northern Classics. Now his specialisation is Northern Classics. Let's leave him doing that. Now let's go down to Ronga. Now, time trial 5, cobbles 5, recovery 4. That's pretty good. He's got a fair amount of improvement. His specialisation is fighter. Fighter is more. It's more hills, I think. I think part of that helps with the hills. His time trialing is 60, which is reasonable. His cobbles are 50. His cobbles are terrible. He'll never be a great Northern Classics guy regardless of the fact that he's got 5. So I will put him on time trialing. And I will change his schedule to there. So now those 3 have complete schedules that will get them to the Tour of California and the US Pro Cycling Challenge correctly. So that's how you do it. What you try to do as well is get them to enter a couple of races beforehand. That helps with the training effect. So that can be quite good. You want to pick up a few of those type of races. Because I've done this before with this team, I know that taking these guys to Elk Grove is actually important as well. So that's probably a good training effect. Just go back. I got a split there just before the Tour of Gilead, the Joe Martin or this one. I'm not actually particularly sure of that one, so I need to have a look. It's flat. Green means flat essentially. Orange is hills and red are mountains. That's a mountain, even though hills, even though it's fairly small, but it's an uphill finish. Another flat, another slight hill. So 2 hills and 5 flats. That's something Roscoff can do quite well. Joe Martin is a 4-stage race. It's got an uphill time trial. I do recall this one, and that's flat. That's got a time trial. So I need to take my time trialists there. And they call that hilly. It's a very small hilly, quite frankly. So I think what I'll do is I'll have Carpenter, Roscoff, and Ronga all go to the Tour de Bretagne. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, I do apologise if I say anything wrong. Some of these names I'm just not going to get right. Right, now I'm not going to take you through any more of the scheduling and the training, because quite frankly it can be quite boring for you. I will pause it here, and when I come back I will have a completed schedule for my riders, and we'll be ready to tackle the first race of the season, which will be the Valley of the Sun stage race. So I'll be back in just a second.